So you know Google Maps, or I assume you know Google Maps. It is the most popular mapping software in the world by far, and so when you're just screwing around on Google Maps, as you do, you'll click on something, literally anything, a business, a park, a city, and a sidebar will show up on the left that'll have like the name and some information, and there'll be a picture in the top left. That picture is known as a featured photo, and these featured photos often are intuitive. You click on a pizza place, you'll get a picture of that pizza place. Sometimes it'll be the outside, sometimes the inside, sometimes it'll just be a picture of the pizza, but it will be a picture of that pizza place. This is true for pretty much all businesses, places of interest, parks, etc. For whatever reason, geographic areas, cities, counties, do not work like this. You click on any of those and it will just be random what you'll get. I mean, not completely random, it'll have something to do with the area usually, but within that description, what you get is often completely nonsensical, and it usually leads to some pretty hilarious results. So the other day I was just clicking around Utah. Don't ask why, I don't remember. And I get to Juab County, Utah. And Juab County is this rural county in western Utah. Very naturally beautiful county, as lots of Utah is. And you'd expect the featured photo to be something like the mountains, or, you know, the Great Basin. Something that reminds you, obviously, of Juab County, Utah, or even just like a city within Juab County. And you click on Juab County on Google Maps, and this is still true today, I checked. And what you get is this dilapidated pickup truck just sitting in the brush, burnt to a crisp in the middle of nowhere. And when I saw this, I laughed at it for like a good minute. Why is it like this? Why is this photo even on Google Maps in the first place, let alone being a featured photo? And I looked into it and I ran into a brick wall. Nobody seems to know how Google Maps featured photo algorithm works, as is true of a lot of Google algorithms that don't need to exist. And I figured I would look around my neck of the woods to see how many featured photos were an equally baffling representation of their city. I live in Minneapolis, and what I wanted to do was take every municipality in the Twin Cities area and tier list them from great to awful, but there are way too many municipalities in the Twin Cities area for that to be feasible. It's a 7-county metro area, and there are well over 100 cities, and I don't have time for that. So what I did was I restricted it to every city with at least 50,000 people, which is still 17 cities. And even within that small sample size of just 17, there are some pretty ridiculous featured photos. So I'm gonna take those 17 cities and I'm gonna tier list them by their featured photo from, yes, this is a really good representation of this city to be seen by thousands, if not millions of people on Google Maps, the most popular mapping software in the world, all the way down to, I don't understand how this got approved by the algorithm, and or I don't understand what this photo is doing on Google Maps in the first place. And then I'm gonna get into why it's so concerning to me that this algorithm is the way it is, or really why it exists in the first place, but let's get onto the tier list. So first we'll start with the featured photos that I think are actually a good representation of their city, and there are 5 of these out of 17. Right off the bat, that's already a concerning ratio. That's less than a third. First up is St. Paul. St. Paul is the second city in the Twin Cities. If any St. Paulites watching this video try to tell me it's the first, I will fight them. This picture was taken from the south side of the Mississippi River, looking north toward downtown St. Paul, almost certainly from Harriet Island. And this is basically the iconic shot of downtown St. Paul. You get a good view of the river, usually some river boats floating along. My only real complaint is that this is a little bit too blurry, but that's gonna be a common complaint. Otherwise, this is good. I like this. Next up, we've got Bloomington, which is represented by Normandale Park, the biggest office park in the city and somehow also the most expensive in Minnesota. Not really sure how. I don't do commercial real estate. I mostly work from home. In any case, the left tower is 8500 Tower, which is the tallest building in Bloomington, and it's at least a feature of the city that most people in the region would be able to recognize and at least think, hey, I've seen that building when I'm driving on I-494. Bloomington also does notably have the Mall of America, which is probably what I would have chosen, but that's just personal preference. I do think Normandale Park is a good representation of Bloomington, Minnesota. Third is Apple Valley, which is an exurb on the far southern reaches of the metro area, and for Apple Valley, they just went with a high-angle shot of Eastview High School and a bunch of trees and residences, and I think this is a great representation of Apple Valley, which is mostly just a bedroom community in suburbia. Apple Valley also does have the Minnesota Zoo, which you could have gone with if you were feeling spicy, but again, it's Apple Valley. Next, we've got Maple Grove, which is another exurb in the northwest corner of the metro area, and for Maple Grove, the algorithm has selected the building at Central Park of Maple Grove, which I think is a great representation of the natural beauty of the city. It's in a park, it's aesthetically pleasing, there's good nature. Honestly, not much better I could have chosen for Maple Grove. Last but not least, we've got St. Louis Park, which is a first-ring suburb on the west edge of Minneapolis, and this featured photo actually comes from the city itself, which is the only time that's true of any of the 17 cities that I looked at, which isn't necessarily a good or bad thing, but it does confirm that this is actually St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and there wasn't some error that led to them choosing like a park in St. Louis, Missouri. Not that that would ever happen or anything, but you know, I couldn't actually tell you what building this is without looking it up, but you know, it's got the nice little You Betcha mural on the side, nice little cute Minnesota flair, and it does give off a very first-ring suburb vibe. It is a very St. Louis Park picture. I'd say it's a good representation of the city. Alright, so on to the next tier, which I'm simply calling meh. I'm splitting this one into two subcategories, one of which is bad representation of the city but good pictures, and the other is good representation of the city but bad pictures. So they're decent pictures all around, but they don't exactly work for one reason or another. We'll start with the former. Leading off is Coon Rapids, which, yes, that is the name of the city. I'm sorry, it's just gonna have to be that way. Coon Rapids is pretty much just an average everyday suburb, except that the entire southwestern boundary of the city is along the Mississippi River, which makes for some really good nature, really good scenery, and that appears to be what this featured photo is going for. The only problem is that you can't really tell where it was taken. There is a nice little park surrounding a dam in Coon Rapids, and that's probably where I would have taken the photo, but you know, it's an algorithm. In the same vein, we've got Lakeville at the very southern extent of the urban area, and at first, looking at this picture, you see just a lake and a tree, which I guess, you know, a lake would be good for a city called Lakeville, but it could be any lake. There are over 11,000 of them in this state. And it's not until you look at the title of the photo, which doesn't actually appear in the featured photo pane, you have to click on it to see the title, and then you see that it is titled Antlers Park, which is a park along a very big lake in Lakeville. And that park itself is a good place to take the picture. I think it's the correct one, but you can't really tell that it's there unless you specifically know what you're looking for. So that was it for the first half of the meh tier. The second half is going to be the bad pictures that are otherwise decent to good representations of their city. We are getting to the ridiculous stuff soon, don't worry. Starting off this half of the meh tier, we've got Minneapolis itself, and for this picture we've got the iconic shot of the Minneapolis skyline coming from the south on I-35W, probably the most viewed and most photographed skyline shot in Minneapolis, which makes it all the more frustrating that the shot that the algorithm went with was this really low quality picture from the inside of a vehicle with a smeared windshield. You could have picked any other shot of the skyline. I've taken several myself and I'm an awful photographer. Or you could have picked any of the other several dozen landmarks in the city of Minneapolis and you went with this. Why? It really does bug me that this is the photo that the algorithm selected for Minneapolis, because most other cities of this stature are not done dirty like this. Like Philadelphia, I showed you in the intro, good skyline picture as its featured photo. Cleveland, Detroit, Milwaukee, Kansas City, even more locally, Des Moines, good aesthetic skyline pictures as their featured photo. And in Minneapolis, we have this. Fix this, Google. Fix it. Less egregiously, we've got Blaine, for which they just chose a nondescript portrait photo of the water tower, which you could do a lot worse, I suppose, but you could also do a lot better because Blaine is home to the National Sports Center, which is the self-proclaimed largest amateur sports complex in the world that holds every summer the largest youth soccer tournament in the Western Hemisphere. So there's that. Or you could have this. And finally, sticking with the water tower motif, we've got Eden Prairie, which uses a partially obscured shot of their water tower taken from a Walmart parking lot. Eden Prairie has a median household income of $129,000 a year, which is well over the regional median of $102,000. So already it makes no sense that a superstore would be the choice for Eden Prairie. But even if it is going to be a superstore, why Walmart? Like Target is Minnesota's thing. It should be from a Target parking lot. Get it right. That said, obviously, you have several other options in Eden Prairie, lots of natural beauty here, or if you wanted, you could just take a better photo of the same water tower like you have several of on Google Street View alone. Now we're getting into the pictures that are so bad that I feel like I don't even have to suggest how they could be better, except to say, start over and try again. First up, Woodbury. What is this? What are we doing here? I mean, it's secluded enough, it kind of gives off a Woodbury vibe, but this could be literally anywhere. Minnetonka, same deal. We've just got a picture of some snowy trees. This could be anywhere in the north. Do better. For Egan, we've just got this memorial flagpole, which again, could be pretty much anywhere and is not an icon of a city that has a few. Like, I know I said I wasn't gonna suggest anything for this tier, but the Vikings train in Egan. There's a very popular outlet mall in Egan. Lebanon Hills Regional Park, very beautiful, very large park in Egan, and the algorithm picks this. No. Last up, we've got Edina, which actually uses a video, though you wouldn't be able to tell it's a video unless you clicked on it. They just took a screenshot from the video. And the video is of the Minneapolis skyline. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain why that's not a good representation of Edina. And that segues quite nicely into our lowest tier, the what the fuck tier, which let's just get into it. First, there's Plymouth, which I legitimately don't even know what this is. It appears to just be a flooded pond with some lily pads in it. I don't even know what the subject of this photo is. This is a photo that should not be on Google Maps, the most popular mapping software in the world, let alone a featured photo of a suburb of 75,000 people in one of the largest metro areas in the United States. What is this doing here? Get it off of Google Maps. Burnsville is just a slanted photo of some clouds that somebody clearly took when they were driving. And last, but certainly not least, we've got Brooklyn Park. This is another video. It is a video of a water park, and you might be thinking, Eli, how is this a bad representation of Brooklyn Park? This looks really cool. This looks like a place that I would want to go to. And I thought the same thing. So let me take you through my thought process. You probably already see where this is going if you're thinking ahead, but I'm gonna show you how I got from this is pretty cool to what the hell. So my first thought was I have never seen this water park before, which isn't that surprising. Brooklyn Park is probably one of the suburbs that I've been to the least, but still I thought this looks pretty cool. Maybe I wanna go there sometime. So I first look up water parks in Brooklyn Park. I find nothing. Next, I think maybe it's just like a city park with like a little water sprinkler area. So I look at Brooklyn Park's GIS map of parks, and I don't find anything like what I'm looking for, which is surprising again because their GIS map of parks has like a very specific list of every facility that they have at every specific park, which is really great. Brooklyn Park, good for you, but it's also not what I was looking for. So I did what I probably should have done first, and I just reverse image searched it, and I found it. There it is. It's at Pier 6 in Brooklyn, New York. They did the thing. They did a park in Brooklyn for Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. So why exactly does Google Maps choose featured photos in this way? Like, first off, what even is the way that they choose the featured photos? Nobody seems to know how this algorithm works. If you look online for answers, you basically just get a bunch of confused forum posters asking why they have a photo of blurry fries that is the featured photo for a business, but then they take a really good photo of natural wonder and it gets like 10 views. Nobody knows how this algorithm works. People seem to think that it's based on how many views the photo gets, which would bias it towards things, places, etc. that have fewer pictures of them, but even among that group, how does it choose which photos get featured? Nobody knows. It's a black box. Geolocation is clearly not the only factor. If they somehow screwed up to the point that they got a park in Brooklyn, New York for Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, you'd think they could just use the metadata from pictures, but no. So if this algorithm is going to be this bad and this obscure and confounding in its badness, then why does it even need to be an algorithm? And here's the truth. It doesn't. You know how I mentioned at the top that, if you click on a pizza place, you'll pretty much always get a picture of that pizza place, but if you click on Juab County, Utah, you just get a picture of a burned pickup truck? The reason for that is that Google allows you to add your own photos specifically to businesses, places of interest, and parks, but it doesn't allow you to add those photos for addresses, private property, geocoordinates, or, for some reason, geographic locations. The other three I get to different extents, like there are privacy concerns, even though Google has already blown past several privacy concerns for over a decade with Google Street View. But why geographic locations? Why on earth would you not allow people to submit photos for geographic locations? What do you get out of not letting people add photos to the city of Minneapolis, but allowing people to add photos to Powderhorn Park in Minneapolis or Pizza Luce in Minneapolis. I don't get it. Like, do you get it? Am I missing something here? Does Google gain anything out of this being an algorithm? No, right? Like, why do companies like this use algorithms? They either do it to allow advertisers' sponsored posts to appear more frequently, or they do it to promote certain users above others. And none of that is happening here, right? They're just choosing pictures more or less at random. So this isn't even enshittification. This is just having a feature, which is a good feature to be clear. Featured photos are an obvious value add for an interactive map, but they're taking this feature and they're just implementing it poorly for no good reason. It infuriates me. And the reason this infuriates me rather than just coming across as like a silly haha bug is because of the scale on which this is being presented. This is again the largest mapping software worldwide by far, and I'm a map guy, I'm a transportation planner, I'm in the ArcGIS Pro trenches 5 days a week. If I made any errors this bad with the regularity that Google Maps does, I would be fired immediately, no question. But Google Maps, which is again the most popular mapping software worldwide used by millions of people daily, just does it without a care in the world. And like, we know this doesn't have to be an algorithm because Google allows you to upload pictures to businesses and places of interest, which in my opinion would be far more likely to be abused, but whatever. So what if it wasn't an algorithm? I mean, it's not that hard to imagine. Like, real humans just add pictures of locations, other humans help decide which ones get featured, and if there are any obvious abuses of the system, they get removed via content moderation. You don't even have to pay the content moderators. People would be willing to do this for free for an application with this wide of a reach. I know this because Wikipedia does exactly this and it works great. For almost any city you can think of in North America, you can look it up on Wikipedia and it will have a picture that was taken by a user for free and uploaded under a Creative Commons license. And for Google, you don't even need the Creative Commons license because you've already had a bunch of people uploading millions and millions of pictures to your database for years and years, and you have the rights to all of them. Just do that. And this system works great. You get a bunch of info boxes for cities of varying sizes that all have pictures that are good representations of the cities the articles are about. And this works because the people, the humans that are doing this, they care about this. They care about these places, they care about the integrity of open knowledge, but the algorithm, it doesn't. It can't care about any of those things. It's an algorithm. It's a black box. OpenStreetMap, the largest collaborative online map in the world, in some senses Wikipedia for maps, has nothing like Google Maps' featured photos because there is no photo integration into OpenStreetMap. So featured photos, if they worked as intended, would be a massive point in Google's favor because, again, photos are an obvious value add to an interactive map. Like, imagine if on Google Maps, the largest mapping software worldwide used by over 1 billion people monthly, you could click on any city in the world and get a good representative photo of it. That'd be amazing, right? It'd be unironically one of the best mapping achievements in the history of the world, but we don't have that, and we could have that. But we're being held back by Google's misconception that humans need not apply, everything can be done by an algorithm.